Welcome back to Onebar and Lupagus show. I am Lupagus, and today we're talking about five Vikings undrafted free agents with the best chance to make the final 53-man roster. Before you do that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like, and comment. Become a YouTube member if you got a couple extra bucks laying around a month. We'd appreciate that as well. So let's hop into this because every single year Kwesi's been the GM, the Vikings have kept multiple undrafted free agents. Year one, Luigi Villain and William Quinku. Then last year we kept three, Najee Flash Thompson, a good friend of the show, Andre Carter, and obviously Ivan Pace Jr. So this year could be no exception. Vikings could keep two, three, maybe one, but they're going to keep somebody. They do it every year, and there's some good options this year, and we got narrowed down to five-ish. I'm going to say that. So let's hop into it. Let's go with Taki Taimani, the big nose tackle from Oregon. I love this kid. As soon as I saw he was a top 30 visit, started digging into him. Just like what I see. I mean, the power is there. He can win with power. He's kind of greasy. He can slide down the line, make a play. Not a ton of production, but he kind of does that dirty work, frees up his linebackers, can collapse pockets, plug holes, eat up space. That's the kind of guy we need on this depth chart, because you look at this depth chart behind Harrison Phillips, Levi Drake Rodriguez, who I think might actually end up being at end, and then you got Taki Taimani there. So he's already up on the depth chart. Jalen Roy isn't a lock to make this team. We'll see how many they end up keeping, but he's got a good shot. If he can show something, even just a medium flash in the preseason, I think he's got a good shot to make the final 53. Worst case, he's a practice squad guy who I do think will get called up at some point. Let's go to my cop-out, and this is why I said ish. I think any wide receiver who is an undrafted rookie has a chance to make the team. I think Ty James from Mercer is probably the favorite. Then you got our boy Devron Harper, also a friend of the show. And then Jashawn Jones, the receiver from Maryland. Because the thing is, and I just talked with the depth chart with the nose tackle, but you look at the wide receiver, it's even worse. Like, I think it goes into as high as wide receiver 4 is up for grabs, 4, 5, 2 spots. And you look at the competition: Trent Sherfield, Christian Jackson, Lucky Jackson, Thayer Thomas, Dalen Baldwin, Malik Knowles, and you got Jashawn Jones, Ty James, Devron Harper. So it's not like this huge mountain. N'Keal Harry's in there too. This huge mountain to climb for these guys. You got a couple, like N'Keal Harry, a former first-round pick who hasn't panned out. Jalen Naylor just hasn't quite shown enough. He's had a couple flashes. He scored a touchdown. Tristan Jackson, the same thing. Can't seem to stay healthy. Lucky Jackson. So there's definitely an opportunity here and a chance for one of these guys to make the final 53 as whether the number 4 or number 5 receiver. Question is who it'll be. I mean, Ty James, the 6'2" size, 200 pounds. He's a big physical receiver who can play on the outside. You like the contested catches he can make. And Devron, he's just kind of your jack of all trades. He'll take the ball, as a handoff from the backfield. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. He's a special teams guy. So he's got a good chance because he brings more than just a receiver to the table. So I would not be surprised one bit if one of these receivers crack the Vikings' final 53. Let's go to the obvious one. This year's early favorite to be the next Ivan Pace Jr. That is UCLA's Gabe Murphy. Had a productive college career at UCLA. Why did he fall? Undersized. He's just undersized. He's like 6'2", 240 pounds. Also has short arms. That sounds very much like Ivan Pace Jr. last year. But you watch, I was watching the Latu Latu film earlier in the year, and Murphy was standing up plenty of times with me. I mean, like holy shit, who's this guy across from him who's also making plays? So he's got some pass rushing skills. He's got some pass rush ability. Depth chart, I mean, with Dallas Turner in the mix now, I mean, look at what we got here. You got, obviously, the Ginker. You got Grenard. You got Dallas Turner. You got Jihad Ward, Andre Carter, Pat Jones. So there's some positions there that could potentially be up for grabs. We'll see how many the Vikings decide to keep. Do you take one less safety next year and you put that at edge to keep one of these guys on the roster? Andre Carter's spot isn't safe. He has to show something. I think he was all just kept because of his size and those freaky measurables that he has. So he has to start doing something. So you look at Gabe Murphy, definitely a favorite to make this. I mean, hell, even Bo Richter, Owen Porter have an outside chance to make the roster. But the Vikings do seem to be establishing some good competition here for the last couple spots as far as their edge rushers go, and we'll see who ends up winning those battles. Let's go to cornerback, Dwight McLaughlin. The 6, I think he's like 6'2", how big he is. Ball hawking skills. Some people question whether he's got good athletic ability or not, but this was a guy who was expected to be drafted as high as maybe late 4th, early 5th round. So the fact he went undrafted was a little bit surprising. I do believe he was injured last year, didn't quite have the production many foresaw that he would coming back from that. So he goes undrafted. Vikings get a steal here, potentially in McLaughlin. And again, this is kind of like the receiver depth chart where there's experienced guys here, but really their play hasn't been all that impressive. And I'm talking about number one, Caleb Evans, who just fell off a mountain last year. He fell off a cliff. Like, he started playing games as a Vikings. He just looked lost. He looked confused. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, if it's a system thing. He looked like he didn't know what he was doing out there, letting receivers run right by him. Andrew Booth Jr., a second-round pick, hasn't done anything yet. And he finally did see the field last year, saw some action, played well late in the year. But is it too little, too late? I mean, how many chances are you going to give these guys just because they're high draft picks? Kwesi alluded to it earlier in a presser. I think it was maybe his March pre-free agency presser. He mentioned, we have to stop. We are going to keep the best players, what he said. Like, you're not going to get a free pass because you're a high draft pick. I think the hammer's coming down, and they're not afraid to cut guys that they actually brought in. And I think we're going to see that this year when it comes to final cuts. I think Kwesi's going to finally admit some of his mistakes with the guys he decides to keep and doesn't decide to keep. So McLaughlin, a huge chance to make this roster. And the last one, we're going to go with Dallas Gant, the linebacker from Toledo, way of Ohio State. Very productive last year. He's got size. He's got long, lanky arms, explosive hitter. Again, how many you keep at linebacker? You got Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace. You brought in Grugier Hill. Is he safe? Probably, but not guaranteed. Brian Asamoah, that's the big one. Are they going to admit that mistake? A third-round pick who just has not yet done anything. If Dallas Gant outplays him in the preseason, the Vikings should keep him and not a guy just because he was a third-round pick. And I hope to God that's what they do. Sick of keeping guys on this team just because they were highly drafted. So those are 5 guys, 6-ish, maybe 7-ish. I think do have a chance to make undrafted guys to make this final roster. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree. Do you have some guys that maybe you think are going to make the final 53 that we did not mention? Let me know in the comments. And obviously, keep your skull in your hole.